Howdy. Y'all awake? God, I finally get you fresh where you just haven't gone to sleep yet, which is good. I'm Bill Scott. I'm Division President for Houston, Lindbeck Division. I'm an Aggie, class of 74. I know, I was talking to Bob Segner earlier, and he didn't want me to talk about this, so I won't. But how many other classes earlier than 74? Raise your hand. Way to go, Aggies. I came to Lindbeck over 33 years ago, right out of school, green, dumb, cocky, a lot of other things. But I've enjoyed a career that has been extraordinarily challenging and extraordinarily rewarding. And I learned some things about what Leo and Chuck have talked about today. That integrity and passion to serve our clients are the foundational elements of our company. Integrity is the foundation that supports all our actions. It's our core value and an integral part of our mission. Client service is our strength. Our passion to serve our clients in any manner that helps them meet their business needs and allows them to compete. We provide value by supplying information to help our clients make good decisions, then delivering their facilities on time and with a quality that exceeds their expectations. We live and die by our ability to provide client service. We stay incredibly focused on delivering value. We challenge ourselves every day to do better, to not accept the status quo. We're continually looking for opportunities to be more efficient, more effective, more accessible to our clients. Our goals is to help our clients achieve their goals by doing whatever it takes. One of our strengths, that Leo talked about earlier is the diversity in our company. And the diversity in the environment internal to our company is about our people. It starts there. It's one of the core three that allow us to be successful. It is a differentiation, but the creative thinking, the innovation, and the teamwork that we use serving our clients starts with our people. Our current population has, not only do we have 46 Aggies and wanting more, but we have representatives from schools literally from all over the world. But over 40% of them have bachelors of construction science. We have over 24 architects licensed, though we don't practice architecture. But it's a key element in our culture to have diverse thinking. To have creativity takes people thinking about things differently. We have 36 other advanced degrees. We've got a PhD in structural engineering, and you're going to hear from her shortly. We also have a PhD in biochemistry. Why do we have people with those kinds of backgrounds? Because our clients need information, and the translation of science to their needs and our ability to understand their needs, we need people that understand our clients. So whether it's a business problem or a chemistry equation, we have to be able to understand them and help. This broad spectrum of people give us opportunities to innovate, analyze the challenges that were presented, and that I'll even confess that we have a number of TSIPs. So it's about diversity. The next several speakers you're going to hear from are going to discuss some of Lindbeck's most critical innovations. You've heard about Team Build, but you need to have a case study. It will help you understand the hows and whys of each innovation, and more importantly, how they generate value for our clients. The following innovations we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Team Build. We're going to talk about lean construction, and we're going to talk about behavior-based safety. Team Build that we've talked about is our proprietary and trademark delivery process. Lean construction is the production methodology we use to provide and improve our reliability in planning, reducing waste, and improving communication and performance on our job sites. Behavior-based safety, we started 5 years ago. This is unheard of in the commercial construction environment. It's based on improving the behavior of our workers and our subcontractors and creating safer job sites. First up is going to be Team Build. Many say imitation is the highest form of flattery. While we've been practicing Team Build since 1968, many in the industry use some of the same words, but practicing Team Build and the experience of Team Build, as Russell just talked about, is more than a marketing pitch. Team Build's a highly defined process that causes results that our clients find extraordinary. Dr. Becky Burleson is a senior team manager out of our Fort Worth office, and she's going to share how she uses Team Build. Becky?
Thank you. I'm going to try this without stumbling. I am married to an A&M grad, but have never had the pleasure of greeting a room full. So, howdy. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. As a team manager at Lindbeck, my primary role is to help take these fantastic clients that we have through the early stages of the Team Build process. That starts with project assessment. And as you heard John Go mention with the KIP case study, his team started by trying to understand the business plan of KIP. And that's exactly where we want to be every time. We believe that we can't deliver value unless we understand what that client values and needs. The one common thread of all of our clients, whether they're institutional clients or cultural clients or health clients, is that they need their facilities, the biggest capital investment they're going to make, to be a working asset that helps them meet their goals. And if you come from an organization that expects you to maximize client and you've embraced that, then you need to make sure you understand how value is defined in that client's world. So when we get to the project assessment phase at the end, this process is about defining where we're going. What are the goals? What are the objectives? Not for the building, but for that business or for that client. At the end of the assessment phase, we should have defined for the team a roadmap, a map of where they're trying to get. And in order to do that, we need to know their goals and also their constraints. John mentioned that KIP needed $80 a square foot to make their business work. And unlike the case study Leo gave, that was in today's dollars. When you understand those goals and you have the roadmap, then you can start talking about a particular project. And that's the project definition phase. And we don't want to be talking about concrete, steel, or design, and we're hopeful that the designers are not drawing pictures until those front-end thoughts, the assessment of what the client needs and values and will work for them, and the project definition can then begin. Good project definition, when you know the client's goals, can help you resolve the conflicts that arise and keep the project moving forward. It gives you a benchmark when those problems come up, those competing interests and values. You have to have a way to go back and understand what decisions are to be made. And a project as well as it is conceived, if it's not moving forward, it's not serving its end. So the project definition that gives you a way to inform those decisions and trade-offs. When the key parameters of quality, functionality, aesthetics, schedule, and cost are understood by everybody and committed to, then you can move forward. One of the things that we learned, maybe didn't know at the beginning, was that the process, that the team build process that puts all this front-end thinking at the beginning is not just a service to the builder, but it actually facilitates the design process. It gives the designers the information they need early enough to help that client. Excuse me. Team build, as a process, we'll have to move on, continues into the construction and commissioning and post-occupancy phases. These processes, too, are rooted in collaboration and our commitment to creating value. When we began implementing the team build process, it gave us a way, what we learned as we went through as a company, not just myself, but we learned that we could create value and experience over and over again with the design team. Lindbeck is at its root a builder, but we've come to appreciate over time a deep respect for the creativity that's inherent in the high design. The need of the signature design architects to challenge the status quo and create something rare touches something in the personality of this firm. It's not as simple as building what's been drawn on paper or conceived in Rhino and Rivet. What happens in the field is not necessarily the same as we'll see. The collaborative nature of the team build process in the front end of the model allows our team to work together to craft solutions in the field that satisfies the client's expectations, preserves the architect's vision, and reflects Lindbeck's own commitment to quality. Lindbeck's Senior Project Manager, Paul Sipes, is going to highlight an example of how Team Build helped achieve not only our clients' goals for their project, but also enabled the architect's vision by telling you about the evolution of the now iconic Y column in the Modern Museum of Art in Fort Worth. It's one more way to see how creating a disturbance can generate great value. Thank you.
The Modern Art Museum of Fort Worth is the oldest continuously operating art museum in the state of Texas. The building behind me is a replacement facility for a building that they were in that was city-owned about 4 blocks from here. Their reason to build a new building is they had outgrown the size of that facility and they could not display a significant amount of their permanent collection and then also have travel and exhibits at the same time, and henceforth the new building. At the beginning of the process, they developed a program, and we took that program and we put a budget to it. That program and that budget became what they moved forward with during the design process, the selection of the design architects, and the selection of the rest of the team. That program and that budget pretty much stayed firm during that process. Tadao Ando is, I'm told, the most publicized living architect in the world. His medium is architectural concrete as cast in place. An interesting fella. I mean, a lot of the designs are the same. You see different components that come into the same projects, but they're all slightly different. Usually the projects are very airy, very open, very well done. Working directly with Ando and his staff, probably the most time was spent in determining the size of the pours that we make, the individual concrete pours that we make. Their desires is all this concrete would appear to be homogeneous and monolithic with no apparent breaks in the formwork. We spent hours and hours of working with them to be able to put the joints where we could construct the building that would not compromise their architecture. Further, we worked on some of their unique details that they want, how we could accomplish their detail from a construction standpoint economically. To achieve the high quality of the architectural concrete here, we spent many, many hours trying to understand what Tadao Ando expected. We had conversations with Mr. Ando. We went to Japan and looked at his work in Japan. We bought some of his books. We looked at the quality of the work in the books. We spent lots of trial and error building mock-ups with different placing techniques for concrete, different formwork systems, building mock-ups and trial and error until we knew that we could achieve the perfection that was required to achieve this level of concrete. The Y columns at the Modern, which there are 5, is a signature component of the building. Most publications that you see of the Modern will feature that Y column in one of their elevations. Although it's an architectural element, it is also a very significant structural element. It supports what is now a 16-foot cantilever of the canopy that cantilevers over the reflecting pool. At one time in initial design, that was a 30-foot cantilever, and the Y column was inboard of the building. Cool idea, something that Ando wanted very much, structurally not very practical. Not necessarily impossible, but not very practical. The team got together to come up with a plan where Ando's vision could become a reality. One of the things that was suggested was to move the Y column from inside the building to out in a reflecting pool. Some of the team thought, you can't say that to a design architect. That's too drastic of a change. He embraced that idea when he learned that the cantilever canopy would survive. All of the concrete here is as cast in place concrete with very sharp edges, very smooth faces on the concrete. The Y shape itself does not lend itself to be able to achieve that because of the inclined nature of the Ys with concrete falling down that slope. We knew that it was very important to the project, so we came up with a fairly innovative way where we broke the pieces apart and cast it in 3 components, the stem and the 2 forks, if you will, and then later assemble them in a jig and raise them in place. A 30-second explanation of something that took about 6 months to plan and several weeks to build. The Y column, with the changing of its location from inside the building to outside the building, and then the construction challenges and their solutions, is a pretty good testimony to the team build concept. We had the idea and the concepts, but we don't do it ourselves. There has to be a team collaboration where to effect that change, the architects had to be part of it, the structural engineer had to be part of it, ultimately a specialty engineer had to be part of it. Bringing all those different people together, the concrete supplier, the form suppliers, all those people being brought together in a collaborative atmosphere is a significant reason why the Y columns are as successful as they were. I think what I'm most proud of in the construction of this building is that we were able to assemble a team, not only the Lindbeck team, but the designers and other specialty consultants, and we collectively together were able to build something that none of us had ever done before, except of course for Tadao Ando. The delivery of the architectural concrete building here, I think, is unsurpassed by anywhere else in the United States, and I believe we achieved a level of quality beyond Ando's and others' expectations.
Howdy. I'm Lloyd Nakayama. I'm an Aggie and a graduate of the class of '81. And I'm a development manager with Lindbeck, and I'm currently assigned to the Collaborative Research Center at Rice University. Before Lindbeck, I was a senior executive at another large construction management firm, so I walked in the door with a lot of construction knowledge and how to do it well. But despite 25 years of experience, I probably learned more in the last 2 years at Lindbeck than I thought possible. In particular, I learned about team build. And I'd like to tell you about another, lean construction. Lindbeck is a founding member of the Lean Construction Institute, and one of the few members to embrace lean as a standard business practice. Lean was created by Toyota. and adopted over the last 10 years at Lindbeck. We incorporated Lean into Team Build because both have similar goals: to create value for our clients, to eliminate waste, to eliminate rework, and the waiting for materials and manpower. Like Team Build, the process begins with defining value for our clients. Once we know the goal, we can determine the best process, the most effective sequence of activities, and to deliver that value. Next, we map the process with a value stream. Lean starts with a plan that begins at the end and works towards the beginning. This means we have laid out the task from the end game in a way that we pull the project forward rather than the traditional method of forcing or pushing the project forward. Let me tell you how this works. We get together as a team after we have identified the subs and go through a Lean training class. The class teaches us the importance of flow, scheduling tasks, and a logical sequence to keep productivity high. During this training session, there is an exercise that we perform, and it's almost comical to watch a lot of construction folks trying to build an airplane out of Lego blocks under the pressure of the clock. The message is clear. Everyone must be on the same page, work together to maximize value, and the training session highlights this message. The session ends with the team producing a construction schedule that is known as a pull schedule that works from the end towards the beginning. It's really amazing to watch the plumber, the concrete guy, and the rebar placer working together to work out the best sequence so that they don't run over each other and that they can each maintain their own productivity. And because the whole team has participated in all the decisions, they have buy-in to the end result. And it's much easier to keep a project on schedule. Since the whole team works together, it results in looking out for each other, the elimination of unnecessary activities, and execution of materials and work just in time. We're generally in better shape to recover from things like 95 days of rain when it occurs. Well, this actually happened on a project. We had 95 days of rain, but only 28 days of schedule slippage. That's Lean. The final principle of Lean is to seek perfection. This means the team develops metrics for its own performance to improve productivity. The measurement process highlights behaviors or circumstances that disrupt progress so that we can fix or otherwise remove them. We post the results for everyone to see. The subs start competing with each other to see who can hit 100% each week. The whole group takes ownership of the process. At Rice, we track productivity every week and check and see where our commitments have or have not been met. We work together to eliminate these bottlenecks that hinder our performance. Everyone participates, including the owner and the architect. We have created an environment where keeping our commitments to each other is as important as keeping our commitments to the owner and the client. Senior Project Manager Ed Beck is one of our leading Lean gurus. He's going to share with you an example of how Lean creates a disturbance that improves quality, productivity, and value. Here's Ed.
Lean is about the elimination of waste. And one of the greatest wastes is when people focus on something other than what is value to the client. We use pull, and pull is similar to defining what is value to the client or what is valuable in any instance, and not doing what you can do, but doing what you need to do to advance that one value, that one feature. So all of our planning is done based on pull. What's the most important thing we can be doing right now to advance the whole project, which is advancing the client's value. Another tool we use is the last planner technique, and it is devised to have us be more reliable planners for each other. We work very strongly in a team environment on the project, and the team needs to learn not to protect their own interests or advance their own agendas, but to be focused on the client's value, and all planning being centered around that value. Too often, people do not plan well enough. They just get out and do what they've always done, and they're not reliable about it, and others cannot rely on their planning, and therefore their planning can't be reliable. So our last planner technique teaches this group of people to work in a very complex set of buildings, all working with the same ends and communicating very well what their plans are and how they work together.
The Rice University Housing Expansion Project team has applied Lean in other ways. At the client's request, the team identified a modular bathroom solution for the new residential colleges that satisfies maintenance and usability requirements and is also generating cost and schedule savings for Rice. The Rice Housing team leverages Lean to create value for Rice in many ways. Lean has helped the team define their goals based on a clear understanding of what is most important to their client. These shared goals encourage teamwork and open and collaborative communication. The team measures their performance, which prompts mutual accountability from all contributors. As a result, they enjoy improved reliability and a team commitment to continuous improvement.
The primary challenge was maintainability. We ended up with a single pod, single room, single occupant solution. The pods will be fabricated off-site in a factory environment, in a controlled factory environment, completed and then shipped to the job site and slid into place. The uniqueness of that solution is it is a 100% off-site controlled environment bathroom pod that is 100% waterproof, and it has 3 joints or 4 joints in total on the project. So it met all the maintenance requirements that Rice has asked us to approach in the solution. The idea of it being completed or fabricated in a factory environment, it eliminates, in essence, all the waste that you would have on a traditional bathroom construction, from the metal studs to the drywall to the crowdedness, if you will, for the various trades trying to get into the same location and trying to achieve their work at the same time. So it eliminates all the unnecessary waste that you have in a traditional approach in a traditional bathroom construction. Traditional bathroom construction would take 4 or 5 months on a particular floor or in a particular dorm, and we've eliminated that for 3 to 4 to 5 months of process. And in essence, efficiency, gained that much in efficiency. As it relates to cost, we've saved close to $1 million in overall project budget for Rice. So the value proposition to this is close to $1 million in savings, and we've expedited the project schedule for that particular component by 3 to 5 months. From the facilities organization all the way up through senior management here on campus, they are incredibly pleased with the solution, but more specifically, they're excited about the innovation that this brings on campus.
People do things in any big process, but particularly in construction, people do things and then throw them over the wall. They do their job and pass it on to somebody else without nearly enough collaboration, nearly enough cooperation. This is not about me, it's not about you, it's about what our client needs us to do. It
was incredibly fun to take a solution or a challenge and then look at alternatives and try to challenge each other to get to a solution that is different, that is innovative. It really does align the entire team to the goal and the owner's challenge, absolutely. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Howdy. Before I get started, I am not related to Darth Vader. My name is Ike Allen. I hired on with Lindbeck in January of 1979. I need to break this up a little bit. I am a T-sipper. Earlier, Leo III mentioned SQP, and the S of that SQP stood for safety. It is our leading principle in which we are measure our performance within Lindbeck. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about safety and our safety program at Lindbeck. Our safety program at Lindbeck is set up on two programs that run parallel. One is the traditional safety program, which is traditional job site-based safety, and the other, and you'll hear more on this later, is about a behavior-based safety program, which focuses on training, observation, and feedback from employees within the field. It is a very innovative and productive part of our safety program and culture. Traditional site-based safety, you all may be familiar with. It deals with OSHA-based 200-year-old rules that we follow, and it is not the Bible, but it is pretty close to it. We also have a safety manual that's developed from within the company per project. What that does, it causes the project team, the project manager, project superintendent, all the way down to the office administrator. We get together and we plan the safety plan specifically for their site. What we've added to that is the behavior-based safety program. And together, these two programs have produced just an incredible result. Behavior-based safety is basically based on unsafe conditions lead to accidents. Near misses lead to accidents. So what we've done to improve our safety within Lindbeck and to get on the cutting edge as a company is back in December of 2002, we adopted a behavior safety-based program. And what that does is it's an employee-driven program that works from the bottom up, and you're going to hear more on that later. But the results, I'm going to share with you some today. The process within our safety, within our company that concerns with safety deals with four important elements. The first one is the commitment from the company. The company from the CEO, senior management on down provides support, reinforcement for the safety program. The second is it is an employee-based program that provides and asks for and requests and pretty much demands employee involvement from, like I said, everyone on the staff, from senior management all the way down to the trade laborers in the field. The third deals with subcontractor participation. Subcontractor participation, if you're familiar with a construction site, 70-80% of the project work activity is usually related to subcontractors. We encourage subcontractors to participate within our safety-based program, within our behavior-based program. And when I'm speaking of a behavior-based program, I'm saying that they feed off of Lindbeck's employees, observing, providing feedback, and they too do the same, and it leads to a positive result. Lastly is the accountability. The accountability that safety starts and ends with you, not with someone else, and that's rewarded when it's measured. It's monitored by senior management, and the reward is good compensation. I know when I look at my job review, the first thing that's on the list is safety. You heard earlier what Leo III talked about our compensation, our incentive plan. If safety has gone haywire, so does your money. So it's very important, and it's a leading principle, because I've been in the business long enough to have experienced pretty bad injury on a project, and I still remember it today, and it sticks with you, and it kind of puts a little sour taste about that project. Don't want to ever want to deal with that again. So the last item before I close, because I got a nice video to show you on the behavior-based program after this, is that our behavior-based program has produced the numbers. I'm not Tom Sawyer trying to encourage you to paint a white fence. Is that in the 5 years since we've instituted the program, we have dropped our insurance modifier by 18% to an incredibly low 0.37 safety modifier. Our goal is 0. So, and we can get there if we can get more workers to participate. So far to date, in 5 years, we're up to 83% of the field staff participating in the behavior-based safety program, and we're up to 50% of the subcontractors. That equates to 50,000 peer reviews, and actually 2 people looking at each other and reviewing each other about a safety condition or a job activity. That's 100,000 feedbacks that's going on in 5 years. No longer will we have a site where there's just one safety director or safety official walking the site and giving feedback from the top down. If we have a site of 200 people, our goal is to have 200 safety officials. That's everyone from the bottom up, working with everyone from the top down. Lastly, safety is a principle where ownership is applied to others within the company. It's applied to everyone within the company, not only to others, but to everyone within the company. It's to develop a culture to take ownership that at the end of the day, everyone is ensured a safe outcome. Everyone can get home safely. With that, I'm going to introduce fellow Aggie of yours, Chase Bromley, our field superintendent, is going to tell you a little bit more about the behavior-based safety program here at Lindbeck. Thank you.
BBS stands for Behavioral-Based Safety. We started it back in 2003. It's basically it's from the bottom up. It's where you get to employees on the job site looking out for each other. It creates more unity on the job. People talk with each other, and it really helps me out because it provides more eyes on the job site looking at safety instead of just mine. The primary goals and objective of our design committee was to create something uniquely for Lindbeck, basically where our culture was represented in this new safety process. We wanted to be positive and employee-driven, and with that happening, the guys in the field have a better buy-in. It didn't feel like it was just another process coming from headquarters. It was a chance for them to take a leadership role in their own safety. Starting the BBS process on each job site basically starts off with the design committee. You find dynamic individuals that can take the leadership of the BBS program on the job site and make it unique to our project. Each project we do is challenging, and they each provide different challenges to the job site team. You have your dynamic people involved. You start tailoring it to the specific hazards that might be happening on the job, because we like to try to identify the hazards before they happen so we have the time to react. The BBS observation is the heart and soul of the process. BBS observation is one employee goes to the office, grabs the form, and it has a list of work tasks and specific hazards that might be happening. He finds another employee, asks them if he can perform an observation on them. During that time, the employee volunteers, he watches them perform his tasks. At the end, He shows them the checklist and lets them know what he was doing safely and what he might have concerns on. So it's just kind of a hey buddy talk. Hey, did you realize that your cord had a nick in it? Not get the cord off the job. We've invited subcontractors to participate on the cathedral project. We had a great turnout. I was also involved with the subcontractor design committee, where subs saw the benefit of our process on several projects and wanted to get more involved with it and start it themselves. So it takes a little while, just like any process, for people to see that there's value created from the BBS. And with that being said, their participation actually unifies the project team. So it's not just Lindbeck doing it, it's everybody looking out for each other. With BBS, my role as a superintendent, I feel has become easier in the line of safety. I still perform the police cop when necessary, but now the employees are taking care of themselves. They have more of a camaraderie, more of a family feel, because they want to, each person wants to succeed. If you talk and have daily conversations with your employees, you start developing relationships, and I think that's what's bringing BBS to the forefront. Behavioral-based safety, being on the cutting edge, felt right with our culture to go forward with it. And that's why we're having such great success, because I might have been part of the design committee, but the general culture of Lindbeck accepts change. We went after the behavior because we found out during our design committee that it wasn't the stone that was too heavy, it was the person's decision, their behavior to go try to pick it up by themselves. And that's what's different between your standard policies and the behavior-based policies, that we're trying to change people's behavior, the way they think before they perform their tasks. If the stone's too heavy, my behavior will now be, let's get some help, or let's find a piece of equipment to move it, instead of, well, I'm just going to go try to do it, because that's a behavior. And if you can change people's behavior, you can change how they work on ladders, you can change how they move tools, what glasses they're wearing when they're performing different tasks. And the behavior is where it's at, because it changes the person, not just that specific task that they're doing.
What is that howdy thing? You'll find out in a minute that I'm not from these parts. But I'm not dumb enough to come up here and start with, hey, or what? I'm from the Northeast. But I want to talk about howdy for a minute, because I don't really understand it, and I want to be sincere when I say howdy. So I don't know whether to say howdy or howdy, or, how does it work? What's it all about? Somebody tell me about howdy. Did you start in the 2000s, or have we been doing it here since start? Since start. So some of you guys that were here in the 70s, how did you say howdy? Howdy. And who was here in the 80s?
Secondary says howdy.
There you go. Nice. I don't know why that was funny, but it's working. So in the 90s, how did you say it? Come on, some of you working architects must have graduated in the 90s. Help me. Somebody make it up at least.
Howdy.
There you go. And so today, how do you say it?
Howdy.
Howdy. So why do you keep saying it here? What's the deal?
It's a friendly campus. Friendly word.
What else is unique about this campus that's been here since the 1800s?
Tradition.
What kind of traditions? The core. How long has the core been going?
1870.
So it's core to who you are, right? So you got howdy, you got the core. What else you got? Do you guys play football here at all? You're not on TV very much. Trust me, I've lost that battle with Chuck Greco before. We do have a little football rivalry, and lately I've been losing, so I'll try to stay from that. My point is there's apparently a huge culture here, right? And all of you, or most of you, are somehow bounded together in that culture. When you come on the campus and say howdy, you're instantly part of the team, right? So it's a great thing. The connection for you today comes back to Lenbeck. At the core of all that you've heard for the last couple of hours from Darth Vader and our safety program, by the way, he deserved a much bigger applaud, I think, on that Darth Vader thing. So I thought that was a nice line. Nice effort. Just got to get this crowd to work a little. You got to talk more about Aggie before you start laying jokes on them. So the culture is critical to Texas A&M. As Mr. Lenbeck and Leo and Chuck talked about at the beginning of the afternoon, everything that Lenbeck does is based in the culture. And the culture has evolved into this idea of collaboration. So in the late 60s, the Lenbeck team performed the miracle at 600 Jefferson. It was based on this idea that we work together as a team with a common objective, focused against the owner, the results would be outstanding. Nice idea. Mel talked about for the last 25 years, we've put that together because, as Mr. Lenbeck has turned the reins over to the next group of people, when you introduce new people to the firm, that isn't you don't get culture just by reading the company manual. You sort of have to live it. But you got to start with, we don't want to start over every time we start with somebody new. We want them to understand, 80% of what we do, this idea of mixing together a bunch of talented people. Often, it's the first time a group of architects, consultants, builders, owners have ever worked together before. And you're supposed to put this $50 million puzzle together, and it's supposed to be done in 18 months, on budget, and last for 100 years. I mean, it's pretty much of a miracle, every job that this industry collectively does. So what we've tried to do is put it on paper to take as much of the variability out as possible. That's called team build. It's just that simple, right? It's a bunch of steps. If you follow these steps 80% of the time, you'll have the problem beat. The other 20% is where the culture really pays off. The belief that if we work together against a common goal, the results will be outstanding. The process, without the culture, blows up. Because if one weak link is in our series of steps called team build, if they don't pull their weight, and people always make mistakes. The trick is, when you make a mistake, you got to say, hey, I made a mistake. The team's got to work together to make this thing work. That's what's critical about Lenbeck. It's obviously what has kept A&M glued together for 150 years. So if you're in the audience and you're a student and you're trying to pull all this together, the point is, the collaborative idea is critical to our success. You can use that as you select the company you go to work for when you graduate, as you evaluate companies. If you're an architect or a builder out there in the audience, and you say, how the heck can I use all this great Lenbeck stuff? They're family owned, they got it made, it works, it's a layup for them. It isn't. We work at it every day because the idea of collaboration only works if it creates great value for clients. And it does that because we constantly innovate against that idea. The behavior-based safety that Ike took you through, that's a radical concept in the construction industry. And we didn't invent the whole thing. We borrowed it from the oil industry because they had great results. So we said, hey, they're doing something right. Let's plop it into our industry. It's in its infancy. There's a couple of firms that are trying to make it work. But the idea that, let's take care of one another and let's have a safety program based on the idea that we all want to go home with our fingers in place is we're trying to innovate in an industry that is resistant to change, especially when it comes to safety, because it's so regulated and it's so litigious. It's hard to make changes there. But because it's hard and it's important, we've chosen to do it. That's how the collaborative idea stays alive. You have to look for innovation. Talked about lean construction. In a minute, Wendy's going to come up and talk about the 3 things we're working on to continue to innovate. We have to innovate to make collaboration work. So I think the message to all of you, if you don't want to come and work for us or if you don't want to hire us, the thing to take away is working against a common objective, the owners, as the team, is the trick to our success. And the constant innovation is what makes us continue to be differentiated in the marketplace. I'm only going to give you one example. It's, I think, incredibly relevant for you because if you're out there saying, well, it's magic, somehow they're doing it. I work for Lenbeck in the Northeast. We primarily work in the Boston area, but we stretch as far south as South Carolina and sometimes up into Maine. We merged with a firm there 5 or 6 years ago that had incredible construction capability in the biopharma market, had some great relationships, but more importantly, their values were the same as Lindbeck's. They believed that if they serviced the client with the right team of people, we would be successful. So they were the perfect company for us to expand our brand into the Northeast because they had the really important stuff already in place. This is an example at Tufts University. Tufts, by the way, in Boston, you have MIT, Harvard, and then Tufts. And Tufts is one of those schools that is really emerging in terms of its arts programs. You could put the entire campus, however, on the site of this library. I mean, it's that. In Boston, real estate is gold, and it's always very tight to find places to build. We most recently did, Jason, if you could just flip a couple of slides here. This is a performing arts center we did there. If you flip to the next one, this is a residence hall, the first new residence hall they've done in 20 years. This is only impressive it's impressive for two reasons. One is this is the first Silver LEED accredited dorm in the state of Massachusetts, so we're very proud of that. But what we're really proud of is the fact that these two structures, it's about $50 million worth of construction, were built across the street from each other on a very tight campus, and we built both of them simultaneously. We built them, and we explained it to the owner. It was important for us to build them both because building these buildings wasn't the objective. The objective was to improve residents' lives and to improve their music program, but you couldn't shut the campus down. And literally, the campus is 1/100th of the size of your campus. And we had to do all of this while the campus operated for 18 months, which was a huge challenge. Now, here's the payoff. You can collaborate, you can innovate, but why do we do all that? We've said it 1,000 times this afternoon. Why does Lindbeck do all those things? For the client. For the client, right? So, in this particular case, our biggest challenge, and the university's biggest challenge, was how do we build these two buildings and still operate the campus without complaints, without shutting the place down? Our answer was, the next slide, we got the students involved. Instead of this being a huge hole in the ground for 18 months, we said, students, come on in. Come into the fences. We set up 2 trailers. We had an architecture and a construction management course on site for 18 months. Now, it solved the problem because we now had 25 ambassadors for this project. When there was a complaint, they came to those students. The students did multiple presentations to the neighbors, to the other students. We literally had no safety issues. We had nobody breaking into our site, climbing our crane, hanging the Tufts banner. We brought the community inside. This program now, every construction project that's done on Tufts campus today has student involvement. So that's an innovative example of how to bring value to a client when they allow you to help them solve their problems. Just like Russell Tolman did 25 years ago at Cook Children's. He realized this was more than a builder. He said, I got facilities issues, and he brought people in to help him solve the problem. That is the real ticket, is the collaboration when the client lets you help solve all their problems. You collaborate, you got to innovate to stay competitive, and at the end of the day, it generates client value that you never thought possible. With that, I give you Wendy Burke, who will talk to you about continued innovation into this century. Wendy.
So how is everybody out there? You doing okay? Outstanding. So let me tell you a little secret here. As she who was tasked with organizing this little soiree on behalf of Lindbeck, I got to see the script before anybody else did. So that meant I got to pick the part that I wanted to talk about. So I leaped right on to this section because this is my chance to talk about the things that are going to grease the wheels of Lindbeck's growth going forward. The things that are really going to have the most impact on our standing in the marketplace in the future. I'm really excited to talk about that. You know, like Mel Hildebrandt, I'm something of an odd duck for Lindbeck. I am, first of all, not an Aggie. I did not spend my formative years with a design or a construction company. I studied economics, not engineering. My friends from Brown, which is where I put in my undergraduate time, they still can't believe I work for a construction company, and even after almost 6 years, they think it's a phase. Quite frankly, before I went to work in the industry, I would never have believed that I would work for a construction company either. But here's what I've learned about construction, specifically about Lindbeck and the way we run our business. And what I've learned tells me that Chuck Greco and Leo 3 are going to have to chase me off with a stick to make me leave. And it's just one very simple thing. One simple thing. And it's this. What we do is amazing. It's amazing. I am endlessly fascinated by what we manage to accomplish. We have these phenomenal job site teams. They are responsible for stitching together the individual contributions of sometimes as many as 1,000 people and hundreds of suppliers and partners into a single deliverable, one deliverable. These guys are essentially running their own independent Lindbeck subsidiary, and they do it brilliantly. The leadership and the support that we provide to clients who bring us challenges that would make the hair come off of your head. This energetic and committed atmosphere that we manage to create with our project teams. The inbred, in-depth appreciation that our firm has for innovation and challenging the status quo, all of these things simply astonish me. You couple those things with our wonderful, supportive, collaborative culture and this opportunity to make a permanent impact of real value on our cityscape, and it's a pretty unbeatable package. These are the kinds of things that keep Lindbeck committed to transformation, to creating disturbances that generate value. We take our role as the industry skeptic pretty seriously. In fact, we're proud of the reputation that we have as a firm that challenges and changes old, comfortable habits. And we're going to continue to make investments in new processes and new technologies that are going to characterize the future of this industry. And, John, I'm going to talk about 4 of them, not 3 of them. Let me just talk very briefly about 4. The first is technology, specifically building information modeling. I'm sure that most of you have heard of BIM. Some of you may even be using it. But at the moment, in practice, BIM is an application for designers, not builders. Lindbeck is working on adapting BIM to the needs and the business processes of the construction side of the house to make it truly 4 and 5D with the incorporation of real schedule and cost data. In fact, we're working with a professor and a graduate student from this fine institution to push some of BIM's existing boundaries to see exactly how best to adapt this new technology to real-world application. We believe that technologies like BIM can only enhance the collaboration and communication of a project team. And in fact, we're putting practice into place. We've delivered or have in progress almost $570 million worth of projects that have been designed in part or wholly in BIM. We're also developing a proprietary technology in collaboration with a company called Trelligence that can serve as the point of entry into a BIM model. This application is designed essentially to automate the project definition process. An architect would use Affinity to program and model a facility in a very quick, simple way, something akin to moving checkers around on a virtual game board. We would then link Affinity with our proprietary cost models to generate very rapid, very correct, and accurate cost and program scenarios. The goal is to provide clients with accurate information about project requirements and costs as quickly as possible, well in advance of any substantial investment in design. We want to help our clients think through the critical planning points in any capital investment process as early as we can, with as small an investment as possible, so that from the very beginning, the entire project team clearly understands exactly how this client defines value. Of course, as whiz-bang as BIM and all its permutations is, we actually tend to believe that process should drive technology, not the other way around. We've been collaborating very closely with RTKL's Dallas healthcare practice to develop an integrated delivery methodology that leverages both BIM and Lean in the upfront planning, design, and pre-construction processes. We're literally collapsing them to make them more effective and more efficient and to generate more value. We're implementing this new leaner approach with a major healthcare provider. And interestingly, all the major contributors to the process, RTKL, Lindbeck, the engineers, the subcontractors, and even the owner, all of those contributors are asked to do more, to be better in this new leaner approach. They have to step up to the plate and give more to the team to enhance the overall outcome. Although BIM is really a great enabler, I think that the difference really comes from the commitment of the team, the designers, the builders, the owner, to behave differently, to interact with each other differently, to achieve different and hopefully better results. In this day and age, no discussion about innovation would be complete without talking about sustainability. The speed at which our industry and our clients have embraced green design and construction is literally breathtaking. So many factors are driving most, if not all, of our work towards green, from the perceived marketing value of owners to their occupants or customers, to government ordinances that reward green strategies, to changes in local codes that mandate operational efficiencies. No doubt about it, green is in, and it is here to stay. And the numbers bear that out. In about the last 2 years, Lindbeck has delivered over $985 million worth of work on projects that have specific green strategies. And some of those projects are absolutely seeking some level of certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. And the trend is actually accelerating. In 2007 alone, 42% of our revenues were derived from green projects. A number that, by the way, absolutely floored me in a good way. We have 26 LEED accredited professionals on staff, and we continue to support and encourage other staff members to seek LEED accreditation. And when it makes good sense, we enroll our project teams in the Green Advantage program. The Rice Housing Project that Ed Beck and Bill Bailey talked about is a very good example of how we work with our clients who are seeking to employ sustainability strategies. A final new innovation is supply chain integration. This is probably Chuck Greco's personal favorite. We've talked an awful lot about collaboration today. Our subcontractors are among our most important partners in delivering a project, and we're constantly seeking ways to extend and deepen collaboration with them. We're increasingly selecting critical subcontractors on a negotiated basis. We're literally signing a GMP contract with them that is similar to our own. We believe that integrating subcontractors very early so that they can contribute to the design process dramatically improves outcomes. In our experience, when we've negotiated with our subs and leveraged their particular expertise, design for individual systems are better and more constructible. Budgets and schedules are more precise, and the client ultimately is able to do more with less. We don't have to engage in the dreaded value engineering, an oxymoron if I have ever heard one, because we have designed to budget throughout the process. We must continue to encourage clients to weigh this benefit, better, more efficient, more collaborative design, better outcomes, against the very outdated perception that, quote unquote, best price can be achieved only through competitive bids. We're actively seeking ways to bring critical subs and suppliers into the project development and design process earlier and earlier to share information and intelligence, to improve decision making, and to increase the level of transparency between our business planning and theirs. We want them to understand how we run our business, and we want to be there to help them in their strategic planning processes if that's necessary. We're confident that these innovations and others will pay the appropriate homage to the innovations of the past and be excellent examples of our heritage of creativity. Part of the reason why we're able to continue to innovate is because Lindbeck has a culture that encourages asking why and why not, and thinking outside the box. It may be true that other firms can take a process like team build or lean and adopt it. That may very well be true. But we believe that replicating our culture is virtually impossible, or at least it will take a really long time. And without team build, at the end of the day, with team build without a collaborative and client service-oriented culture is really just a process map. I'd now like to introduce my colleague, Quincy Hodge, who's the Vice President of Human Resources. And Quincy is the guy who's responsible for preserving and perpetuating that culture in the midst of a pretty serious growth spurt. Quincy.
Thank you, Wendy. Well, howdy. I didn't graduate from Texas A&M, but hopefully soon we'll be an Aggie family as my son has applied, and hopefully he's going to get an acceptance letter to start this fall. So wish him good wishes, okay? HR. I'm here to talk a little bit about HR's role and what we're doing to continue our commitment to help our company with our commitment to our employees and our culture. In our company, HR has two primary purposes. The first purpose is to help the company figure out ways to improve people performance. And the second one is to work with the leadership of the company in order to find ways to make sure we take that culture that we already have and continue to nurture it. You've heard a lot today about our culture. You've heard that common theme, culture, client focus, collaboration. Well, we're committed to the future of this company and making sure that that culture endures. You know, we're known as a great place to work, and it's really the people that make it that way. The values that have been talked about in this company, they really are part of us. I think someone said earlier, it really is in your blood, you know, and we do believe those things. It's something we try to act out every day. And the reason we believe in them is we see the results of them at the end and how it affects not only the people around us, but our clients and the kinds of work that we do. I'd like to make a quote from Chuck Greco that he said recently. He said, "Our relationships with our clients are based on the level of service we provide, and our ability to provide outstanding service is based almost entirely on the quality of our people. This means the success of the firm and the success of each individual employee are linked. One can't happen without the other." So what have we been doing to reinforce this link? While there have been many ways of doing business and taking care of our people that have been long established, that have helped create this culture, as a growing company, we've also made further commitments to do some things to help our employees get even better at what they do. But first, let me give you a couple of statistics. In the last 18 months, Lindbeck hired 76 new employees. That's a 30% growth rate, and that's pretty incredible for a company like ours. Actually, that kind of growth can put an enormous strain on a company, and especially when you think about the fact that as employees come into our company, they have to have a real appreciation for what our culture is and what it really means, and understanding our business processes, which are so very fundamental to our success. Here's another interesting fact. As of this moment, 17% of our staff, that's been updated since we were talking about it earlier, have been with the company for 20 years or longer. And our turnover rate, as you heard, is probably one of the lowest among the industry. We believe that's due in part to our culture and the way we give opportunities to employees, opportunities to excel and grow and find value for themselves. We've been very active in our efforts to help ensure that employees of all generations can be confident that Lindbeck offers substantial opportunity to learn, add value, and grow their careers. Let me just touch on some key ones. The first key is leadership development. And as you can tell, we've had a long history of leaders in the company. But as we go forward, we've got to learn to grow more leaders in our company. Exactly 3 years ago, we made a strategic decision to begin a comprehensive management development program involving 34 of our senior managers and frontline executives. This process required us to develop competency and skill lists for each of our critical positions. 360 assessments were completed, and this resulted in coaching, team building, and development programs for all the people in our divisions. All participants had an internal or outside coach who worked with the employee and his or her supervisor on a custom-tailored career development plan. We also began training for Lindbeck managers on how to become effective coaches themselves. Today, over 65 people, or 20% of our staff, have either completed the coaching process or are engaged in some phase of the coaching process and are working with a coach and their supervisor on a specifically tailored coaching plan. This individual development and coaching process is being rolled out throughout the company, but now with managers and senior leadership who are even better prepared to handle the growth. The second key has been feedback. We place a very high value on feedback in our company, both from our clients as well as from our employees. Being a preferred place to work is one of our business goals. Now, even a healthy culture now and then needs a good checkup. So we conduct an annual employee job satisfaction survey and measure ourselves each year against the results of this feedback. Periodically, we take this process a little bit deeper, and we conduct an organizational effectiveness and cultural survey. We analyze all this feedback from our employees, and we develop critical issues for leadership, succession planning, and other improvement opportunities, and we fold all these things into our strategic business planning process. The next key area is training. We have an internal training program, which you've already heard about today, called SQP, Safety, Quality, and Productivity. All the instructors are coworkers, and the topics are both technical and professional in nature. In recent years, we've added soft skills training to help improve our leadership, communications, and team building skills. In addition to these classes, we also offer immersion training for our engineers and project managers, where we cover all the elements to help make those people successful in those roles. Several other courses introduce staff to topics like risk management and construction economics. We've just completed the initial design for our new Lindbeck Academy, where baseline learning plans and builder and leadership courses are being developed for all experience levels and positions in the company. The fourth area is career development. We really believe there are no limits at Lindbeck. Our career ladders are designed to accommodate employees regardless of their interests. They can remain in the field or on projects as highly technical experts, or they can come into the office and support business development or get more involved in other phases of the team build process. This idea is to match the employee's interest and skills with the opportunities that we have in the company. Each of our primary job descriptions is supported by a competency model that serves as a guide to employees when they're considering their career goals. These competency models provide clear direction about the experiences and skills one must possess for each role in the organization. And supervisors are provided training to help each employee develop quarterly development plans for their personal growth in each of these competency areas. The next area is productivity. At Lindbeck, we've had a long practice of supporting the practice that if you can link people to processes, you can help people quickly learn how to understand methods and procedures, and therefore improve their productivity a lot sooner. We've expanded the use of lean thinking throughout the organization and have developed value streams for nearly every process we have in the company. One of the first things that Chuck asked me to do when I started working for him was, he said, I want a value stream for every process you have in HR. So we quickly sat down and got together and started finding areas where we had waste in our processes, and we're still working on that. Our value streams also play an important role in training and developing employees, as well as innovating improvements in the way we do business. Finally, from an organizational standpoint, we have a human resource professional in each of our divisions. Their primary goal is to strategically support each division manager and their leadership in helping to nurture this culture that we all enjoy. One critical success factor for me is the level of commitment that our CEO, Chuck Greco, and our entire leadership team has to the people in our organization and the role that my staff and I can play in the success of our organization. I'd now like to bring back up the man who got us started, Chuck Greco.
It's really impossible to summarize 70 years of experience in about 4 hours, and that isn't really what we tried to do. But what I will do is to try to extract some of the critical issues here that for the students in the audience. The first one, what you read in books is rarely what you're going to experience on the job site. You're going to have to make adjustments in the field. You're going to have to work on the fly. You know, you're going to have to be technically strong, but you're also going to have to be managerially strong. You're going to have to be a good thinker. You're going to have superb analytical skills, as well as communication skills. Second, teamwork will be part and parcel to your personal success. You will not be successful without it. You must learn to respect and collaborate with all the contributors, with the architectural, engineering, and construction community. The designers have got to work with the builders. The engineers and architects have to talk together more. We have to incorporate the subcontractors into everything we do because of their special knowledge. Everyone adds value to the process, and all those many disciplines must work together on the client's behalf. Third, the whole process of designing and delivering a complex project is both an intellectual and production-oriented process. Each member of the team brings their own special creativity. It isn't simply the architect's vision being built by the contractor who moves and wrote. The best outcomes are achieved when the team is all on the same page. To do that, they operate with respect and transparency. Fourth, it's about value. If you stay focused on the client's goals, the team will always work better together. Everyone's involved can look back at the end of the project with pride and good memories instead of anger, regret, or frustration. Finally, challenging the status quo is fun. We do have a great time at Lindbeck. We enjoy what we do. We sometimes even laugh. And we give our clients an experience they simply cannot get anywhere else. Don't get me wrong, delivering a quality project on time and on budget is really very important. But we know that the relationship with that client is also important. And that is made up of little experiences, taking advantage of little opportunities to create and to contribute value and provide service. At the end of the day, it's nice to be able to say, as a team, that we all like each other. We can say we gained something personally from being able to work together on this project. We would never, as a firm, be able to make that claim if we haven't decided over 20 years ago to put value ahead of everything, to base our entire business model on finding collaborative solutions. I would encourage you ask all the time, why and why not? Often, demand opportunities for yourself to experience many new things. You shouldn't leave here today without knowing how you're going to make your own waves in your classrooms, in your conference rooms, and on your project sites. Enhance change, glory in it. There's nothing like creating a disturbance. On behalf of Leo Jr., Leo III, and the many Lindbeckers that you've met today, I'd like to say thank you for inviting us today and being a part of this Rowlett legacy. We hope you've enjoyed hearing our story as much as we've enjoyed sharing it. I'd like to leave you with these final comments from our fellow Lindbeckers, and then we'll answer some questions after.
I believe that Lindbeck is one of the best companies in construction.
We don't approach things the way other companies do.
We all like what we do, and we all like each other.
We know our clients and we understand what they need.
We're innovative.
The personnel that Lindbeck has feels more like a family.
The best people I've encountered in the industry.
Everyone's willing to go out of their way to help you in whatever matter.
They have so much opportunity for me to grow.
We work on amazing, challenging projects.
Just an exciting company to be at.
I don't come from construction. My father was a civil servant. I know family members in construction. And when I started with Lindbeck, I'd never lived in Houston, didn't know the Lindbecks, didn't have any kind of special advantage, if you will.
There's so many things that make this a great place to work. And I think it really stems from the fact that, you know, we have the individual in mind, we have teams in mind, and when people come to work here, they get a sense that I'm really part of something great.
I feel that Lindbeck continues to be one of the best places to work because of the emphasis that we put on the individual employees.
Lindbeck has helped me meet my career goals by giving me the opportunity to work on various projects and also to work on different aspects of each project.
Lindbeck has given me the opportunity to excel and to teach younger people how to do the same thing. Very, very good company, very, very good people, and very, very good attitude.
I chose Lindbeck because I wanted to work for a company that hires for a career and not just for a specific project.
Lindbeck has a lot of processes in place to keep you on the right track and to keep you growing.
And there's always training classes available to help me move forward in what I do.
Lindbeck has helped me achieve my career goals by giving me the opportunity to grow as a person in the company, and also they provide me the training and opportunities that you don't see with many other contractors.
Lindbeck has helped me achieve my career goals because coming straight out of college I really wanted to learn all the different phases of construction, and that is exactly the opportunity that I've had. I've gotten to learn all phases on my ground up project, from structure to interior finish to MEPF, and I am just really thankful to have that opportunity to learn all the different facets of construction.
When I was graduating from college looking for a job, I heard that Lindbeck was female friendly, and I found that to be true.
Lindbeck has helped me choose my career goals. I've only been with the company a short time, and I've been promoted from an estimator to a senior estimator through a lot of hard work, but there's always been opportunities there, and I strongly believe that if I continue to grow, then opportunities will continue to open up for me at Lindbeck.
I take a lot of pride in to see that Chuck Greco, the engineer, the project engineer I worked with back in the past, is now the CEO of the company.
You're a part of the legacy, and we treat people that way. And I think people who see that in us, who understand that that truly is what we're asking them. We're asking you to come join us and have a successful career. And we'll support your goals, your personal goals and your professional goals.
I think one of the reasons we've been so successful at staying in the industry and being a leader in the industry for so long is the fact that we've been willing to innovate and change, and we've been leaders in taking things forward and doing things different in the industry long before other companies have done that.
We are innovators in process. We entered the negotiated market many years before our competitors, and we are currently leaders in lean construction and lean thinking and technology.
As an estimator, Lindbeck place all our estimators in a project team, which is a little different than what I'm used to. What I'm used to everywhere else has been departments, but Lindbeck puts all our estimators on a project team and you feel like you're involved.
No day is the same. Everything we do is complicated, and it's highly involved with other professionals. It takes great communication, patience, and commitment, and I thrive on that. It's fun.
I never dread going to work. Every day is an exciting challenge. It's fun working at Lindbeck.
This is a project-driven organization, a project-driven business. So that allows us to go to different types of projects, do different kinds of industry. We get to meet all kinds of people, and we repot ourselves every 18 months to 3 years. And I think that's kind of what creates the energy or the drive. And if you start having a successful career and you have a legacy of people who not only within the organization that appreciate you, but the people we work for who appreciate what we do, then it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding.
We want you to be part of a family organization that takes care of its own. You need to come talk to us and ask some of the people in the company what they think about Lindbeck and why they've stayed here for so long. And what is it that really makes them continue to come to work every day?
Every day we look at it as a new opportunity to grow as a person and just have fun.
Because of the support you get from upper management in the company and the way the people in the company work as a team.
We have a lot of fun during the day, both while we're working and then after work hours doing different activities together.
Camaraderie between the people.
I love that I had my baby in the hospital that I built when I was right out of college.
The people are more like it's going to sound corny, but more like a family.
It's been a family environment and everyone's very welcoming. They make you feel at home everywhere you go.
I don't plan on leaving to go to work for another company ever again.
Even people who leave, the majority of them that were successful in our culture and organization come back. I think they miss it. And so I think it's something special. It's very special.
We're known for being a great place to work. And it's the people here who make it that way, because we care about each other's success. If these are the things that are important to you, then come join us at Lindbeck.
What I love most about my job is the people that I work with.
I love the people most about my job
because of the people.
A lot of friendly people that care about you.
What I love most about my job is the people that I work with.
And I just enjoy working with a lot of people here.
It's all the really great people I work with.
The people. Everyone's so fun to be around.
I think it's the people.
What do I like most? The people. The people.
If you want to be part of an organization where people matter, come join us at Lindbeck.
We have this is live. This working? Okay. We have one important event left, but before we get to that, there's a few minutes for some questions. And so, if you have a question, I'd like to invite you to go either to the mic in that corridor or the mic over here in this corridor.
Go ahead. I'm manager of an engineering department, an MEP group, and we dutifully are doing BIM design. So we're doing the 3D design, but at the end of the day, our deliverable looks like the same old 2D stuff we've been looking at forever. And the contractor builds the stuff the way he wants to build it, not the way we designed it. And quite bluntly, my people just don't get it. Can you shed some light on what BIM is going to look like?
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that, but what we think it's going to look like is that we will be plugged into that model that you're building, that three-dimensional model. You'll build that in concert with us and our subcontractors. So it will be, you won't be throwing it over the wall. What your problem is now is you're using it, you're doing all the smart technology, you've come up with what you think a great product, but you're kind of doing it yourself, and then you're throwing it over the wall, and then someone else is doing all the same activities you do, except they're taking it apart and trying to build something from it. They're trying to take it apart and run it through their fab shop, okay? And the efficient way is if all of that is linked so that that product doesn't have to get torn up or changed. What your design, the creativity that you've put in it, that innovation, that response to your client that you have in there actually stays. They understand that that is the goal. That is the essence of this design. And the 3D then is just used so that we don't put a beam through it, that we don't run a conduit through it, that we don't, miscoordinate, misfabricate, or in some way want to adapt that design. So that's what we see it. We see it as helping us to incorporate design more efficiently, okay, and eliminating the waste of change orders for coordination.
Yeah, and I guess, Chuck, I don't need an answer right now.
Yeah.
Maybe there's someone in your organization who can, but we use a particular software to design ductwork, and the people who make ductwork use completely different software and completely different metrics than we do. Pipe is the same way. I just wonder, is there somebody in your organization who's trying to take those two things and make them into one?
Interoperability. Is Bill Bailey here? You might try that.
I can answer your question afterwards.
Sure, okay.
We are working on a multitude of platforms internally to marry those interoperability issues. So we're working with our subcontract community as well as our design community to look at those interoperability issues. So we are working on those design through fabrication and operability problems. So
Yeah, I'll talk to you after.
But we'll get together afterwards. Thank you.
Well, I'm a student at the College of Architecture, so this is kind of coming from architecture, just worried about the architect in my profession when I graduate. So who's going to represent, you got this team build thing, great concept, but who's the team leader? Who's going to the client and representing their team, their ideas? And kind of a second question is who's representing the client? Is the client, I understand that you guys get a lot of repeat clients, so maybe that is a better kind of relationship when you get them back the second or third or fourth time. But the first time you get a client, do they hire somebody on? That's just my second question.
Okay. So let me try to do that. Who represents us is our client executives first. The way we're organized is we've organized the whole company around servicing clients. So for every opportunity or client that we currently have, there's one representative called the client executive. The client executive then is supported with what we call client service teams that help them to create what the client's desires are. A client executive might have several clients. So it's a Lindbeck person. It's not a sales team. It's not a marketing team. It is a person who's actually responsible for the delivery of that project from its inception, when we first come to a design meeting, to the day that we hand the keys over. That's really not the end. There's a bunch of years after that. But there's one person who does that, and that person keeps the relationship, if you will. Now, how we work with clients, the majority of the, well, I can't say the majority of the time, it's kind of mixed. Much of our assignments are directly with the client. In other words, they'll have an in-house representative, or like when I was at Cook Children's, Mr. Tolman and I was on his vice president's row, we called it. He has vice presidents lined up down the hall, and I had an office right there. And if it had to do with construction and any kind of integration with his vice presidents, we were there. Others hire a third party to come in and to facilitate what the owner's request might be. That distances us some. It's not as comfortable, but it goes either way. But with our repeat clients, many of the times we there's no one way to do it. It could be a mix. So.
That team, is it usually like an architect or a contractor, engineer that's in the
Doesn't matter, but it's all of those. It is all of those. And it's business majors. It's people who are able to create a relationship, who are able to lead people, who are able to understand and expectations from the clients and from the industries. So we don't have, there's no pigeonhole, you're an architect, so you do this. It doesn't work that way. Everybody who's in this school of architecture, you have the fundamentals and the ability to lead any part of the process, from soup to nuts. You have that ability because you have a talent for one part of it. You either have the talent to be a designer, you have a talent to administrate design, you have a talent to build. From that skill, you apply some leadership, some communication, and then you can do anything. That's our belief. There's no restrictions, no pigeonholes, no silos.
All right, thanks.
Okay. George?
Chuck, what a wonderful day, and congratulations to you and Lindbeck and to the CRS Center. This was really well attended and an excellent presentation. I have a question for you because I know you're on the Dean's Advisory Council. If you were structuring the College of Architecture based on what you know now, what kind of changes would you make so that the graduates would feel comfortable in collaboration and cooperation and working on teams?
I'd get rid of departments.
Hey, great.
I can't tell you how to do that, but
I second the motion.
Departments, we have found in our organization that we can't departmentalize. You know, you hear an estimator talking about there is no estimating department. That's true. We have estimators. Well, who takes care of them? Who trains them? Where do they reside? They are sprinkled out. They are in all the divisions. And they manage themselves, if you will. They do report to a senior executive, a chief estimator would, and then they mentor the estimators that are below them, the senior estimators and the other estimators. But all of those estimators work for the good of the client. We can't have a department head who they now report to, so they think that what their job is to do is to satisfy that department head. And it's a conflict. We don't want that. The teams are autonomous on the job site. They have, the only thing they have in their mind is the desires of the client and their expectations. How are they going to deliver them? Everything back of house has to have that same connection. So we struggle, we fight with it, we organize ourselves around clients, and then we take down department walls.
I think that was one of the best answers I've heard to this dilemma we're facing this, because we're a course-driven program. We've got 322 to make before it's 433. You have to take 433 before you take 606. I don't know what all these numbers mean, and they're ridiculous. I'm interested in projects, and you're interested in projects. So I really appreciated your answer. I hope there was a tape recording going.
But that doesn't mean I'm right. Someone else might have another opinion here. Bob?
I actually have a question. Wendy, how did you end up at Lindbeck anyway?
I ended up in construction accidentally, actually. I have two siblings who work at Lindbeck. I'm going to take it over. It's going to be the Burke Construction Company before we're all done. My brother was a project superintendent for the predecessor company for me, and he arranged a job interview without asking me if that was okay. And since I'm a good sister, I did the job interview, and by the time I walked out of the job interview, I thought, interesting business model. So I was tired of traveling, so I took this job with a small specialty construction company running marketing and sales for them nationally. That company actually was a turnkey laboratory company, and we were a subcontractor to Lindbeck on a Rice University project once upon a time, which is sort of how our relationship began. And somewhere along the way, I met Bill Scott. And the rest, as they say, is history.
She understates her background.
Well, thanks very much, Rick. I appreciate it. And we'll go to the next and final section of our program, which is the... Sorry.
Question that has already been slightly touched on, but for clarification's sake. From an architect's standpoint, when we do this team build thing you're talking about, that seems to identify your company, what does it look like for an architect? Like, what qualities do you look for when you cooperate with a designer or with somebody from an architecture firm that makes them a good candidate to cooperate with and to help build a better structure?
Looking for a design partner who is really focused on what that client says they want that outcome of their facility to be. Now, I understand it's important on picture day that it look like something, but they really do listen and say that the best scope for this client, for their particular need, and they stick to it and stick by it. We're looking for people who treat us as a partner. If we come in and we're talking about in the very early stages, we want a conceptual program or an outline of what the building systems might be that actually solve this client's business problem. And when we agree on what those are and we build a model around that, and we build our target costing around that, and the owner gets their expectations of how their performa is going to work around that. You know, if someone then comes in and says, well, guess what, we have a better idea, we got a new idea, that's fine, but it has to solve this problem. Many times it doesn't. What could come in, what would be a bad partner, is just something that they may have designed the last time. It doesn't really fit the needs. It no longer fits the target. We also prescribe to transparency. So all of our books are open. All of our estimates are open. All the backups open. Everything is sitting right there. Some other partner comes in and they want to play poker with us, close to the vest. They want to challenge the number by seeing if we can catch what they have put now as scope in the project. There are many fine firms that do not do that, and so we don't have any problems working with designers because there's many fine firms that don't believe in that. But there are some that do and test it. And so that's kind of does that help you see the difference of what we're looking for? Just a partner who's committed to the owner and who likes to collaborate, who wants to be friends or have a relationship, a positive relationship which everybody grows by the end of the project. And we all respect each other as professionals.
Any other questions? Okay, last question.
Hello, sir. I'm from India, and my family back home owns a small construction business. My undergrad has been in mechanical engineering, and I never had a formal education in construction, and that's why I'm here at Texas A&M pursuing a course in construction science. I really appreciate the team building concept which I learned across today at Lindbeck's function out here, and the wide diversity you've shown in the kind of projects done, be it school, hospitals, commercial projects, etc. What I would like to know is, with the vast history behind Lindbeck's projects, does Lindbeck still consider it too early or has already taken up challenges to take projects beyond the United States of America?
Okay, good question. We have in the past worked internationally. We did the International Airport at Panama. I think Leo and others here can talk about things that we did in Iran that we were involved in. But, we've decided that there is no reason to go out of the country. There's really many fine projects and opportunities here. So today, currently, there's not really a reason for us to go out of the country. We think we can satisfy our growth needs. Our growth needs are really predicated on succession. Are we ready for people to be promoted? Are we ready for people to succeed me? That's what drives our growth. And we don't really need to look internationally to do that at this time. So we don't have that. And also, whenever that's kind of flown over the table, I've kind of looked around to the executives and said, who wants it? And no one raised their hand. So that's also a problem.
Opportunity to extend my invitation to you to come to India once and see the opportunities over there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on to the final aspect of the program, which is the Emerging Student Leader Award Ceremony. How did we select one student from the approximately 1,800 excellent students in the college? Here's the process that we used. First of all, a letter of recommendation from a faculty member. Secondly, a one-page resume of the student, plus a one-page written statement by the student that described in words or images a project the student was most proud of, and B, answered the question, what would you like to achieve as emerging leader that would also benefit Lindbeck? Applications were first reviewed by a subcommittee of the CRS Center Board of Directors who developed a short list of candidates that was sent to Lindbeck for their final selection. I would like the following finalists for the Emerging Student Leader Award to stand in at their seats as I call your name. Bradley Angel. Blair Hansen. Nicole Hoffman. Can't see without my glasses. Okay. Kashmira Kashir. Luis Martinez. And Brian Walters. Certainly being selected as a finalist out of 1,800 students is definitely an honor, and in itself, it's an award. I will now turn this over to Dean Reagan, who will present the final award.
Will Chuck Greco please come up as part of this announcement? And would Blair Hansen please come to the center stage to accept our congratulations on being selected as this year's Rowlett Emerging Student Leader. Blair came in especially from Boston, where he's doing an internship to receive this award. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dean.
Where's the award, Bob?
Whoa,
that's the... okay, fine. It's not the pitcher of water underneath here. I just found that out.
We tricked you.
Congratulations, Frank.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
See Bob to get the actual award. Let's have a photo here, though. Thank you. Thanks, Chuck. Before I turn the closing, congratulations. Before I turn the closing over to Bob, I'd like to say a couple of quick things myself. One is students in our college often don't know the difference in being a student at Texas A&M and a student elsewhere. This series is one of the big differences. Most colleges of architecture, if they bring in firms at all, they focus on what we call boutique firms. This college, through this series, and thanks to Bob Johnson, the CRS Center, has for the last, counting this one, 8 years, brought in significant firms. I'd like to tell you about that. We had the CRS firm, history of the CRS, with some of the CRSers as the first one of this series. Then we had the 3 firms, which were 3 large ones, RTKL, 3DI, and HKS, had presentations by their CEOs as one of this series. Then we took those individually. We had a series, presentation one year by RTKL with Harold Adams running that one. Then Chuck Thompson the next year had 3DI as a presentation. Again, much like this one, explaining the origin of the firm, their philosophy, how they work, what it means to work there, why they do what they do. Then Ron Skaggs led HKS in their firm presentation. Next we had Beck, who came down and told us about their design-build connections. Last year, as you may know, Gensler came, with Art Gensler coming and making a presentation of his own personal story, just as we were fortunate to have Mr. Lindbeck tell the explanation of his story on how this firm, Lindbeck, started. We're very fortunate that firms, outstanding firms, particularly large ones, accept our invitation, and we are all fortunate, faculty, students, and former students of the college, to have these presentations. There are a couple of thanks that I'd like to also make before I close my part of this presentation. One is I'd like to thank the College of Architecture Dean's Advisory Council. We have 3 members here. Chuck Greco, as you already know, has been introduced. Also, George Jumonville and Ron Skaggs are here as members of the Dean's Advisory Council. One of the reasons I want to thank you, and the other 20 are here, 20 rather are not here, they're all spread around the country, is to tell you that the Dean's Advisory Council that was formed the 3rd year that I was fortunate enough to be Dean at Texas A&M has been a real instigator of one of the efforts of our administration for these 10 years that I've been Dean of the college, and that is to integrate the disciplines. We've worked very hard to find ways through the influence, I'd say, and the advice of the Advisory Council to find ways that faculty and students in whatever of the 3 departments we have could work together on projects, usually in project-based learning, and having a design studio that involved construction students, architecture students, and landscape students together working on projects. Because as the Advisory Council people told me very clearly, they're not separations out in the world. People work in teams, and increasingly the leading firms, as we've seen today with Lindbeck, are firms that work on the team concept and don't separate the disciplines like unfortunately we do in the college. George Mann asked a key question to one of our advisors, and perhaps if I'd had the wisdom of Mr. Lindbeck when I came here and subdivided the college between those who wanted to keep it as it was and those who wanted to start something new, maybe we wouldn't have departments anymore, Mr. Lindbeck. But I did not have the advantage of your knowledge at the time. So I want to thank the Advisory Council publicly for the influence that you've made on the College of Architecture through your advice to us, and you continue to make. I'd also like to thank the Prairie View A&M faculty and students who were able to join us today. They've been good to coming to all of these Rowlett lectures every year, and it's wonderful connection. We hope that you'll come here to graduate school, as some of your predecessors have done, talking to the Prairie View students. I'd also like to thank the College of Architecture faculty and students who took time away from their classes or their activities on Friday afternoon to come to this series, both this time and for many other times. Nothing is better than faculty and student participation in these special events. Bob always wonders if anybody will show up, and we had a wonderful group to show up this time, and we appreciate that very much. And finally, I'd like to say thanks personally to Bob Johnson for doing this series and letting me as the Dean participate. This is my last year as Dean of the College of Architecture. I'll serve as Dean until the end of August when I'll step down, but I'll return to the most wonderful life in the world, and that's as a tenured full professor on a good College of Architecture. So after a little rest, I'm going to come back and be a faculty member, but I wanted to formally thank you, Bob, for allowing me as the Dean to participate in this series, and myself to learn so much about the integration of the disciplines and the cross-connection between the practice of architecture, construction, and landscape architecture and planning, and the education of architects in those fields. The connection between our former students here at Texas A&M and our students and faculty is unrivaled in the United States. It's a well-kept secret, unfortunately, but as you know, a lot of secrets are kept here at Texas A&M. Thank you very much.